talking George Pickens on today's edition of the Cowboys Report. Tom Downey here once again. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler with some rather interesting comments that got my attention about how NFC East teams in particular feel about the George Pickens trade. It's a good thing for the Cowboys. We'll break that down in just a second. We are about 1,000 likes behind, though, in the almost over June like battle against the 49ers report. We can catch the Niners on today's video. Help us out, please and thank you, by liking today's show. So ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reporting that the rest of the NFC East took notice of the George Pickens trade by the Cowboys. Here's what Jeremy Fowler had to say. Quote, "This George Pickens trade has the league's full attention, particularly in the NFC East. People I've talked to in that division feel like he can tilt the field for Dallas and will be a major player. He is one of the best contested catch-cutters in the league, body contortion things downfield, so it gives them a new dimension. The issue in Pittsburgh was really the maturity issues and some of those problems there, but a lot of it stems from Pickens wanting to get the ball, wanting the offense to move properly, and having the passing game humming. And Dallas has that already with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. So he's walking into a good situation. The Cowboys feel like he'll be highly motivated, he'll be on his best behavior in a contract year. This could really pay off. This is a thing where Dallas has made a trade where people stopped and said, okay, this is a factor. It's really resonated league-wide. I like hearing that stuff. I like hearing that the NFC East opponents the Cowboys will face kind of took notice when, okay, this is kind of a big deal. Actually, we have to be prepared for this one. It's not often the Cowboys get that buzz about an acquisition. And I'm not going to take shots at some of their recent players in particular, but we all know the Cowboys haven't made moves that really move the needle in free agency or in the trade market very often. There are some exceptions, but George Pickens is certainly one of those. So despite there being real red flags and concerns we'll discuss later on in today's show, there is also plenty of reason to be excited. So with that in mind, what is your excitement level over the George Pickens edition, how he helps the Cowboys, all that good stuff? Let me know in the comments of today's show. 1 to 10 is your excitement level scale, so go vote at the pinned comment. Let's discuss some of how George Pickens helps the Cowboys. I think he has the talent to be what I call an elevator. Look at what is on this Cowboys roster beyond CeeDee Lamb and who elevates the offense, who helps raise the floor of your quarterback of other players. You know, Jalen Tolbert, Jake Ferguson, those guys can be contributors, but do they elevate your offense really? I don't think so. I think George Pickens can. His highlight reel catchability, the production he had with, frankly, not great quarterback play at best at times in Pittsburgh shows that. He was able to put up about 1,000 yards over the course of a regular 17-game season when he was healthy, when he was active. Again, those are some concerns there. But he elevates your offense. The things he is able to do helps him raise the floor and the ceiling of this Cowboys offense with it that Jalen Tolbert, Mingo, etc. were never going to be able to do. He is a massive upgrade at the wide receiver 2 spot. Again, I'm not trying to take shots at Tolbert or Mingo or Turpin or Brooks or Floyd or whoever, but you went from having, okay, you got a great number 1 in CeeDee Lamb to you got a lot of 3s and 4s and 5s to you still got your 3s, 4s, and 5s, and now you've got a wide receiver 2. And that's a higher end wide receiver 2. That matters for the Cowboys. I also think he fits. The stuff that George Pickens does well, which are predominantly vertical routes or vertical-based routes. So, some out routes are mixed in there because you're still going downfield. You can do slant stuff too. Of course, goes and deep shots and comeback routes. In fact, statistically, he is among the more productive receivers on go balls and on comeback routes. Well, those are stuff, you haven't been able to utilize, especially on some of those go balls. And you know how much Dak Prescott, which sometimes drives me insane, loves those comeback routes. Well, Pickens is good at those. Pickens is going to operate predominantly on the outside, around the numbers. CeeDee Lamb will eat over the middle. That pairing with what Dak does well, with what Lamb does well, with what Pickens does well, it meshes together. And as a duo, that is exactly what you're searching for. So he has more touchdowns this upcoming season. 88 for CeeDee Lamb, 3 for George Pickens. Let me know in the comments of today's show. This one's more minor, but I do think it kind of allows you to implement more 2 tight end sets, which could help your running game too. You've got Pickens and Lamb. you can feel comfortable putting in Schoonmaker or Spanford and not Tolbert on every play because you've got two guys that can win on the outside. You didn't fully have that beforehand. I think it also instills, which is kind of implied by what the NFC East coaches were telling Jeremy Fowler, division rivals, coaches, front office, etc. It gives you more fear of a passing game. Part of the Cowboys' offensive issues last year, which were multiple, was that there was one game-breaking threat. And they've had this issue in years past, too. There were years where it was like, hey, take away Dez or Cole Beasley, depending on which year it was, and the Cowboys' offense can't function properly. When you didn't have Lamb to rely on, it was, okay, Ferguson wasn't the same. Tolbert was okay, but he's like more of a wide receiver 3. Brandon Cooks kind of looked like a shell of himself at times. You didn't have any run game. You didn't scare teams. The offense, how often was the offense, all right, Dak and Lamb, go make something happen? Well, now you can add Pickens to that option too. Adding Pickens gives them a legitimate second game breaker and could even lead to better ground game looks. You don't always have to load the box. It adds more vertical threat. It should lead to kind of a, rising tide lifts all boats effect on your offense. A lot more on this to come, but today's show, you can get the Fanatics 4th of July USA Cowboys themed gear. It's chatsports.com/Cowboys4th. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. It is the Americana-themed t-shirts. What better way to celebrate the 4th of July than by rocking your favorite team, America's team? Links in the comments and the description of today's show. I do believe in acknowledging potential downsides. If this works perfectly, well, then he's a free agent. So you do have to worry about that. Like, if it goes the way we want it to, it limits your risk involved if it doesn't go well, but then you burned a third-round pick for a year of play, and he might not get as much in the open market. So there are the one-year deal element with limited team control does have some downsides there. And look, there are the football character concerns. Like, I wouldn't call it like criminal character concerns, even skipping the camp. Well, maybe it wasn't his fault after all. If you listen to the group who won the camp, they kind of retracted that statement. I expect this to happen at some point this year. A George Pickens crash out will probably happen. Like, even when Pittsburgh was winning 10 games a year, like, he still had some crash outs. So, like, I would just assume that's going to happen. Hopefully not against the Eagles, but, it's the Cowboys. It's the inevitable Pickens crash out. He also just might need some babysitting. Like, he got fined for being late to meetings and missing them and didn't know what time their Christmas Day was. And it's just like, you need to be more mature. So there might need to be some hand-holding, some babysitting there. So far, it seems like CeeDee Lamb has kind of stepped up to kind of help be the buddy cop duo there and be a bit of a mentor. But those are valid concerns. That's why he was available from Pittsburgh in the first place. We have gotten to 217,000 subscribers. Thank you all so much for helping us get there. Let's get to 218. 955 away, so might be a while since it is, June / almost July now. We got you covered still. Multiple videos each and every single day. Hit that sub button at youtube.com/@CowboysTV. So let's go through this again. The George Pickens hype from ESPN with Jeremy Fowler reporting the rest of the NFC East is on full alert for the Cowboys, and they're it's a needle mover. I like all of that. Look, there was risk with the George Pickens deal. I am happy to acknowledge that. But the upside is really fascinating. He, I think, could elevate your passing game. He can be an elevator, a game breaker, a real impact piece for what you want to do on that side of the ball. He is the best wide receiver 2 the Dallas Cowboys have had since prime Amari Cooper. I think it actually does change the outlook for the Cowboys season. I'm not saying a Super Bowl is coming, but I do think it elevates the floor and the ceiling for what this Cowboys team can do, wants to do, and hopefully will do. I think it can make this team better. Again, I'm not going to use the actual phrase of it's redacted year. I don't like doing that because I don't really believe that it is. But I think it does make you closer, move you closer to being a playoff team. And in year 1 under Brian Schottenheimer, I do think that should be the goal / what defines a successful season. At some level, it's always championship or bust. That's really hard to do. And given the way this roster is at after the steps back they took last season, I think that's probably asking for too much. With a tough schedule, I do think playoffs, yes or no, determines yes or no successful season, and Pickens can help you accomplish that.